How do you know you will get creative ideas? The answer comes from new places. Creative ideas come when you get out. To be creative, you must leave home. What do I mean when I say getting out? I mean to get out of your own way, to get out of the usual way to solve problems and do things, to get out of the house, to get out of your home. In other words, to get out of your comfort zone. At the critical moment when you and your team are deciding when your inspiration is coming from and who and what is going to inform the decision you're going to make, you got to leave home. You must get out. You must get out to escape the grip of the status quo, the powerful grip of business as usual. How do we learn how to get out? Just leave home. Stand up and leave. The more distance you put between your usual way, your default way to do things or see things, the bigger the quantity of insight, new connection, and creative ideas you're going to produce. You have to learn to intentionally escape the routine by breaking the limits of your conventional thinking. To counter the biological forces that sets in when we are in a familiar environment, we need to be aware when we choose to solve problems using familiar ways of thinking and time-tested approach to do things, no matter how effective they were in the past. All this keep us in our default, in what we know and we recognize, in our comfort zone. But the comfort zone is the graveyard of great ideas, because in the comfort zone, we become less alert and receptive to new input, to creative stimulation. We need to be aware that it's our instinct for survival that keeps us from exploring what's unknown, and maybe what is a little unsafe or risky. It's in the unfamiliar where magic happens, where good ideas come from, where we create, where we grow, where we work in design thinking. To beat the cultural forces that keep us in the familiar, we need to build the mental muscle to get out of it. And you know very well how to do it, how to cultivate that mindset, because we do it every time you do it, every time you go on vacation. Think about it. You're not the same person when you're home and when you're on vacation. Why? Because when you're on vacation, you're getting out of a familiar environment or a familiar role and responsibility, and you become able to see with new eyes. Getting out of a familiar context refines your ability to perceive and feel differently. Getting out of a familiar routine counters the cultural forces that keeps you from being inspired. Your conventional responses when giving a challenge, you're asked to think outside the box, is to look at best practices, at other competitors, at other people in the same category, to do established way and to ask what the experts say. In other words, to look at what has already been done and let that guide you. But in design thinking, we don't start from the past. We start from the future. Instead, our response is to open up your mind, prime yourself to take in new information, allow for surprising and serendipitous connection to be made along the way, when leaving the habitual and the default, when getting out. Not because we are crazy, but because in design thinking we are dealing with a much higher level of complexity than you're used to. How do we go from the idea of getting out of the action to the action of getting out? How do we go from the idea of getting out to the action of getting out? You want to be adventurous. You want to find inspiration in new places or experiences. You want to be attentive. You want to see how close attention you can pay to what is going on, looking for new things, listening for new things, taking in the smells, the feeling you're experiencing, and let those things inspiring you. Finally, you want to be receptive, staying open and reflecting to what you learn when you're out on an adventure, without judgment to what's possible.